very well. I'm not going to do the things that I should. So, you know what? We're going to keep it simple today, and we're going to do spaghetti with sauce out of a jar, and we're going to move on with our day. Or, you know, I keep thinking about work, and I keep doing all of these things for other people, and I keep taking time away from my students and what I need to do. And then I'm like rushing to get it done, and it's not good. And I'm sitting there teaching my kids knowing like this is not my best. And so being able to like, and it kind of talked about like knowing when to say yes and when to say no. And like it went back to previous agreements like that's okay to do that. And just this simple, like my best is going to be different every day. And that's something that like I know I need to be more aware of, that, you know, my best is going to be different day to day, season to season, just moment to moment. And that's okay, that is normal. So that was a big kind of revelation for me in this chapter.
I love that you shared that, Bethany. That kind of ties into what I was going to say. Like for me, always doing your best was kind of like right in the first part of the chapter. I'm reading on page 75. He says, always do your best. And then a little bit down, he says, but keep in mind that your best is never going to be the same from one moment to the next. Everything is alive and changing all the time. So your best will sometimes be high quality and other times it will be not as good. And so I wrote that down and I wrote, never going to be the same. In life, we're always learning and you're walking through different circumstances that will teach you things. And so I always try to find like the lesson in everything, because every season of life, every mood, it will change. And I think just doing your best is doing your best and then doing some self-reflection. I have some keywords written down like awareness, self-reflection, take action. And I feel like that is how you know like that you're doing your best. And that's what it means to me. Like just learning through every circumstance that you go through and just doing your best in every season of life, the best that you can.
So I also so I've been reading and podcasting like 4 to 5 different books at the same time right now. I'm like between reading this book and then I'm reading a leadership book with Tennille and Elika, and then I started The Coddling of the American Mind on a podcast, and then I started an audio book to Tessa recommended, which is F No, and all of them in my mind at the same time is just an interesting swirl. But this was really interesting because I kind of started to tie it in with that F No book. I'm sorry, I don't want to like cuss. I don't know who's got background kids or something. So you guys know what I'm saying though. And it's really talking about picking and choosing the things you say yes to and making sure they're things you really want to say yes to, not saying yes because you feel like so and so needs you to or whatever. And so I thought with this, it's like for me, like doing my best is also like double checking on things like, is that something I'm going to do my best at? You know, like, is that something I'm going to commit to and do my best? Like, I was thinking of us, like, when you committed to this book club, like, you not only committed to coming to Saturday, but you also, or on Sunday, but you also committed to reading during the week. Like you actually made more of a commitment than maybe you thought, or, you know, vice versa. Maybe you were like, oh, I could read more and do more. But like, I just think of it as like, I'm kind of asking myself, like, is this something I want to say yes to? Kind of bringing in like that other book. And then is this something I'm going to do my best in as well? And if it's a no on either end, I'm going to start saying no, like, because I don't want to half-ass things. I don't want to be at something that I really don't want to be at because, like the book said, you're not going to do your best if you don't really want to be there. And so I'm just really reassessing and like picking and choosing my yeses based on, am I going to do my best when I say yes to that? So I just kind of really liked that, like reading all of this stuff at the same time. It's been really cool to kind of, I mean, sometimes it's kind of crazy. You guys know how my mind works, overworks. But I liked that part.
I love that. I love it. Because sometimes too, as women, we think sometimes we can do it all. Like, oh, watch me. I can do it all. Like, I can task and do all these things. But when we do it all, are we really put in our full effort in everything that we're doing? Or should we say no to some things and just pick the one or two things and put the right effort into those? So I really like that you shared that. I'm in 3 book clubs right now too, and I love it. I'm like, ooh, who is this girl reading all these books, getting all this knowledge? They say like smart people have like a library in their house. I'm like, well, time to build one. I love it. Would anybody else like to share on the first question? What does always do your best mean to you?
I just wanted to chime in real fast. Again, I have children at my house, so like I'm prepping myself to be a mom, I suppose, because last weekend I had my nephews, and this weekend I have like my best friend's little kids, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm so tired. I don't know how these moms do it. But anyways, so prepping myself. So I'm like, oh my goodness. But anyways, I was just gonna chime in when Brittany was talking about like do your like being present, because like we teach hybrid and remote at the same time, and I catch myself because I communicate with my parents through like Class Dojo, so it's on my cell phone. So I catch myself when their kids not on the computer. I catch them like in the middle of my class being like, John's not in class, or so and so's not, it's not working, or whatever. And I'm like, then I have to remind myself like you are not doing your best at being a teacher. Like when you're texting these parents because their kids on the Zoom or whatever. And I have kids in my room now, so I catch myself like, no, you're not doing your best. Like, get off your phone. Like, it is what it is. Like, they have to be responsible for their kids' actions. Like, they have to do that themselves. So I agree with you, Brittany. Like, I catch myself doing that as well, because me, again, and then it ties into the next thing I was reading was it talks about like on 78, 79, like doing your best is taking the action because you love it, not because you're expected to be rewarded of it. Or now my dog's gonna bark, so I apologize. And then it goes down and talks about like people who go to work, and like to them, like some people it's a paycheck to them, or to some people like it's because they love it. And like for my job, I mean, don't get me wrong, who doesn't love a paycheck or doesn't love a Friday or Saturday off? But like I do my job because I love it. And it's hard when like other people and I reach out to those parents because I want their kids in school. Whereas I have other coworkers who haven't contacted a parent in weeks when their kid doesn't show up. So it just kind of all ties together, like stay off your phone, number one. But then at the same time, I'm like, I reach out to them because that's like, I want them to do their best. And that's what I need to do my best. I don't know. So it kind of all correlates together and it doesn't. And so anyways, but that's kind of one of the things that I had, jumped in was like teaching and in general. But then I also caught myself like doing my best as a wife, because it's so easy to come home from school and then I do my workout at like between 5 and 6:30, and then I have dinner, and then like my husband and I, we chill, hang out on the couch, and it's so easy to like get attached to my phone and be like, oh, I'll do the dishes later, oh, I'll like we'll do this later, oh, it's easy. And then I'm like, now I'm not even being the best wife that I can be, because here I am playing on my cell phone when I should, like not should be, I want to be involved with like hanging out with my husband. So it was kind of like an eye opener of, I do my best, but like, am I really doing my best, or do I think I'm doing my best? Like in aspects. So that's kind of what I had thought of when I was reading it. So.
Oh, and those earrings. I love those earrings. They have hearts on them. Yes. So cute.
Super obsessed. I have a different pair with like everything I own. It's ridiculous.
I love it.
Ridiculous.
So I like that you said that, like with the phone, and it's kind of like a time management maybe type thing. Like how good are we at scheduling our time? Maybe, like maybe we need to write a list down of what's the most important thing on our list the next day that needs to get done, and then it's okay to be on our phones, but there's a time for that. So maybe, to feel that you are doing your best, maybe do a to-do list. What's important to get done at the beginning of the day, mark those off your list, feel good about it. And then when you set and you're on your phone, you're not thinking, oh, I'm wasting my time. Should I be on my, or my mom used to have us kids do positive and negative lists all the time. What's positive about doing this or getting this done? What's negative about doing this or getting that done? And that way you can really see, okay, well, maybe it is bad to be on my phone for 2 hours straight. Or maybe it is good to be on my phone 2 hours straight working my business. So just a couple things just to put in perspective on time management and you doing your best. Okay.
That is interesting, Tennille, just to jump in that right there. It's like, what are we doing on our phones? That is probably what caused the guilt, because I know there's times where Mike comes home and he just did like wakeboarding. He's like, I want to put a video together. He's like, I want to post it. And I'm like, cool, because I want to message these girls and da da da. And so we'll sit and like work together, kind of like we're on our phones, but we're both being productive. And there's totally a difference where sometimes Mike will look over and he's like, are you working or scrolling? And I'm totally like, scrolling. I'm like, let me put down my phone. Let's hang out. So there, I think also that guilt comes in when we know we're doing something we probably shouldn't. Like we could be actually having a conversation or something like that with our significant other versus like just, not, so I think that's too, is like, that's where that guilt or that little bit of shame comes in, is like what we're doing on our phones versus like productivity. So I like that Tennille is like using it as a reward too, of like, the pros and cons of like, okay, if I'm going to be on my phone, I need to be working. If I'm not, then the phone needs to be down. Like having those kind of, those factors come into it. I like that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Becky, do you want to move in to question 2? Do we want to get a picture before question 2?
Yeah.
Is that what we want to
do it after? I don't remember. But I was
It's
just
okay.
thinking about it.
No, we can get a picture. Is somebody taking it? Jenny, you want it? Yeah. Let me get my hands situated.
Let me unmute so I can tell you guys when I'm taking the picture. I was trying to, I was like, they can't hear me. All right, 1, 2, 3. Oh, that's super cute. Look at us, all bright colors too.
Oh, yay.
That's super cute. Okay.
Super colors, and I feel like, oh my gosh, like the bags under my eyes. I'm never gonna survive being a mom, guys. Like, whew, these toddlers, let me tell you. No, I'm just kidding.
You can do it.
I'm just kidding.
Girl, you will be so surprised when that kicks in. Like, I have to
Shoot, my husband's upstairs sleeping. I'm like, what happened here? What is going on?
Oh.
Okay, let's go into question 2. What are some examples of how practicing this agreement would transform your life? And do you know when you've done your best? And just because I'm already unmuted, let me go first. I really liked the work example that the book brought up, and I think Jennifer, you brought up. But on page 79, like at the very bottom, it says they have all that frustration, and when they do receive their money, they are unhappy. They have 2 days to rest, to do what they want to do, and what do? They try to escape. They get drunk because they don't like themselves. They don't like their life. There are many ways that we hurt ourselves and we don't like who we are. I thought that was so interesting to read, and totally like could apply it in my life in certain ways. And I think when you are looking for an escape, you haven't created a life that you want to live. You haven't created a life that you like and enjoy. And, recently I made a change. Well, I guess it was 4 years ago now, but I left the teaching world to stay home with my kids because it just like felt right. And like looking back now, like, you know, finances have been hard and life has been tough. We've walked through some difficult situations, but like wholeheartedly, we feel like we made the right decision for us and like our family. And we've created this life that we love, and we love our home. And like even through the pandemic, it was like everybody was complaining about quarantine, and it was like, man, we're happy we have an excuse that we have to stay home now. And I know that sounds a little bit selfish. I know people walk through some really difficult things during the pandemic, like the heart of it. But I just think like, yeah, if you're looking for an escape, well, I guess I'm kind of veering off of the question a little bit. How does this transform your life? But you guys get me. I wrote down, this agreement is really going to set you free. So I feel like if you're creating a life that you like and you're always doing your best to, you know, be happy and look for and be joyful with the decisions that you're making, I feel like that transforms your life, if that makes any sense. Sorry, I weaved around a little bit there.
I'll say for me, it goes back to like the first part of the question about examples of practicing it. It goes back to me reading that book, F No. Like, because since I've read it, there's a lot of times that things have come up that in the past I would have just said, yeah, sure, I'll do that. And then I don't want to do it. So I would procrastinate. I would wait till last minute. I would half-ass what I was doing or rush what I was doing. And then you would have that afterthought of like, well, shoot, you know, if I would have just taken the time, I could have made that so much better. Like I could have gave my best to it if I wouldn't have put it off so long. You know, like I had a month to like plan it and do it. And I waited till the last 3 days before I was supposed to do, you know, like a project, or I was supposed to do something for somebody. But if I would have taken the time to actually do it, because if it was something I full-heartedly wanted to do, I would have given it my best and not my 75%. I would have given it my 100%. So reading that book really opened that up for me of like always doing my best, because if it's something that I truly want to do, I'm going to give it my all from the start. If it's not something that I wholeheartedly want to do, I'm going to half it and I'm not going to do it completely. And I did that to make other people happy. Not that I was making myself happy because it was something I wanted to do and I wanted to show my best at what I was doing, but I did it to make other people happy. And it just kind of came up again, like our 4-H club. We had people leave. Someone else took over. Well, her kids are all now done with 4-H. Her youngest is going to be doing FFA. And I have Jackson, who is still like, so you have like a clover bud before you become like a full-on member. And so she literally messaged me and one of the other moms in the club that we still have kids that are going to be in there for a little bit. And she's like, so I've really thought about this and I'm just done. I don't want to run the club anymore. So you guys can come pick up the stuff whenever you want. So yeah. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing it. I don't want to do it. Like I already do a lot with the FFA. I'm on the fair board already. I am an advisor in the club. I'm there to help. I will wholeheartedly help, but I don't feel that responsibility to take it on. Like I know it's probably going to suck because now we have to find somebody. And me and the other mom were talking and I'm like, what are we going to do? Like, I don't know what we're going to do because you don't have somebody running it, but I'm not stepping in that role as feeling obligated to step into it because somebody else isn't, because I'm not going to want to do it and I'm not going to give it my best. It's going to be a last minute thing that I'm going to do. So I think like reading that book, even though I knew like kind of in my head of like, just say no, like you don't want to do it. You're not going to give it your best. Just say no. But really listening to the book, I didn't even read it. I listened to it because it was like I needed to hear somebody's else's voice in my head telling me it's okay. Like if you don't want to go to that party, don't go to that party. If you don't want to like do this for this person, don't do it. Like do what is going to make you happy. And that kind of like ties into like I know if I'm happy with doing it, like the second half of the question, I know I'm going to give it my best. But if I know from the start, like, I just don't even want to do this, I'm not going to give it my best. If I even have that split second of a thought of like, I want to say no, I should say no. I shouldn't talk myself into it. I need to be impeccable with my words to myself and know that if I fail at it on the back end, I'm going to be telling myself, you could have done so much better. And then that's in my head of like, I could have done better, or I could have done this. And then that's going to nag at me. But knowing that I love it and I want to do it and I give it my all, then at the end of the day, I can't come back to myself and say, you could have done better, because then I'm like, you know what? You rock that. You did your best and you laid it all out there and you're done with it. So I think really for me, that's my best thing, is saying yes to the things I want to do and saying no to the things I don't want to do. And it's not that I just don't want to do it. I just know that it's not going to make me happy in doing it. It's doing it to satisfy somebody else. And although sometimes we do that to satisfy other people, but we do it also because it satisfies our soul and our happiness. Not that we're just, giving ourselves up and not being able to feel that in return. And some people probably call that selfish, but to me, that's not selfish, because if I feel good about what I did, then I know I'm giving it my best. If I'm not, then I'm not going to give it my best. And then I feel like I'm shorting that other person even, because they're not getting the best of me.
Tessa, you go, girl. I love that.
I want to be you when I grow up, Tessa.
I wanted to add to that too, like, what's the reward in doing something? Like, I feel like not always we get a reward, but like putting my time is valuable. Like my time and what I put into something is valuable. So what's the reward that I'm going to get out of it? If it isn't a paycheck, is it joy to see on somebody's face? Is it to help kids out, in the classroom? Like, what is the reward in doing something? And I think maybe that could change a little bit on doing our best. Like, I'm going to do my best because I want to see smiles on these kids' face. I want to see an A on their, test that they're taking. Like, I'm going to do my best because I want to see my kids score a basket at a basketball game, So what's the reward in doing our best too? I think I kind of enjoy in the book, in this chapter. Anyone else want to share? We can move on to question 3. How does the 4th agreement help you become a master in transformation? I actually wrote down on page 90 that it's just like exercise. You're going to have good days. You're going to have bad days. You're transforming how you think. Like, you're transforming your mind and how you look at things. Like, that's going to take time. It's not just I'm going to read this book and then all of a sudden, I feel better. Yep. It's going to take time. I like how it says, don't expect that you will never take anything personally. Just do your best. Don't expect that you will never make another assumption, but you can certainly do your best. And as long as we know that we're doing our best, that's what matters. Like, don't try to please others if it's not going to please you. And kind of going off on what Tessa said, if it's not going to please you or help you, or your why, you're not feeling it, then don't do it. Don't do it for somebody else just to do it for somebody else. So, and my husband's a big helper. He loves giving his time to other people. Like, he'll go work on somebody's car without any reward. He'll go take something to somebody or help. He's just a big helper. And that's fine, but he's got to know what the reward is from it too, because sometimes it takes away from me and it takes away from his kids, but that's his heart, is helping others. So sometimes I have to just check him and say, listen, you've done this, this, and this. It's time to stay here with your family today. Like, I know that you love helping others, but you already filled that. Like, let's work on the family time here today. So I don't know why I just said that, but it just came to my mind.
I think that's where I picked up on page 85 when it said the first 3 agreements will only work if you do your best. Because it goes back to if you're not doing your best, you're not going to be impeccable with your words to yourself. You're going to take things personally because you're not going to feel like you did your best. It ties all of those together. Like, if you aren't giving it your best, the other 3 agreements are just, you could get all the way to there and then it's just gone and it's done and you're not going to get it back. And then on the last one, the last page, I underlined, always do your best to keep these agreements and soon it will be easy for you. Today is the beginning of a new dream. And it really is, like, after you get through each agreement and then you sit and you think back of how they all tie together. And it really is like the 4th one is like I think it's the most important one, because like I said, when I say yes to something, but it's not something I really want to do and I'm not giving it my best, I have just totally annihilated all 3 of those other agreements. I could have been doing so good to that point and then it's just gone. And you're starting all over from the beginning again. And you're having to break all of those agreements with yourself that you've worked so hard to do. So doing what you love to start with is what is going to be able to make you successful for doing that. And it's the same as, when we work out, you set yourself up for success or you set yourself up for failure. And going out of that realm of not doing what you love or what is going to make you feel accomplished even is going to set you up for that failure if you're not focused on that. And I'm that big helper person too. And Jeremy tells me, he's like, well, you did this and this and this and this and then blah, 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 blah. And he's like, you're doing this stuff for all these people all the time. And I'm like, I know, and then that's what I read that book, F No. And he's like, you do so much better now. And I'm like, I know, aren't you proud of me? But I do it because a lot of times it does give me that sense of accomplishment. But I have to look at the things of, maybe I'll do it, but I set those boundaries of when I'm going to do it. Of like, okay, I'm not going to do it right now, but if you can wait for me to do it like this weekend or this day or this time, then I'm there for it. But if not, then I'm sorry, I have to pass. Because a lot of times I have done that and it has put my family on the back burner, so to speak, because I have put something else in front of them. And then that doesn't go so well at home. So it's having to step back and take that realization, I think, also, and kind of put yourself in that moment and thinking it through first and not just, yeah, sure, I'll do it.
And I'm a very selfish person. I don't know if you guys knew that. I'm the last child, like I'm the baby. So like I always got all the attention. Like mom and dad were my sidekicks. Like, so I went to Florida probably 7 years ago. I lived in Florida for a summer and my dad came down to visit me, and the girl that I was staying with, she was babysitting a little girl that was like 6, and my dad like sat beside her in the back seat, and like we went to the water park, so he like played with her at the water park and stuff. I was jealous, and I was like a grown woman. I'm like, okay. And my dad's like, Tennille Nickler, like, really? But that's the thing though. I have to check myself because I know my husband's heart is into helping others. So I need to make sure I'm not being selfish and a baby because they're taking my husband away from me. Like, I don't like that, but I know that's the type of person I am. you know, so I have to make sure it's a teeter totter and it's even and and not be too selfish. But I want to read to this paragraph on page 84 down at the bottom. It says, we don't need to know or prove anything, just to take a risk and enjoy your life is all that matters. Say no when you want to say no, and yes when you want to say yes. You have the right to be you. You can only be you when you do your best. Ah, I love that. I love it.
So I'm going to tie into that to Neil because I loved that part as well. And then I wrote down taking action is being alive. When you don't do your best, you are denying yourself the right to be you. I found that like so impactful. And then I wrote down practice makes the master. So going back to the question, how does the fourth agreement help you become a master of transformation? Practice makes the master on page 86. And then I think I said already, taking action is being alive. But for me, your existence proves the existence of life and energy. And when you worry about what's going to happen in the future, you're robbing yourself of today's joy. And so I've always never like been a worrier. And my family, I think, is like kind of baffled by it. Like I used to never worry before job interviews and things like that, because I'm always like, I'm just going to do my best. And then it is what it is. And I'll learn something from it if it doesn't work out. But I feel like, and going back to earlier when we were all talking about just being present, and I think living in the moment, I think that is how you become a master of transformation. You just enjoy each day, live in the moment. Don't worry. My husband's always said worrying is like a rocking chair. It gives you something to do, but gets you nowhere. You've probably heard that before, and I love that. But it's just so true. Like it just robs you of the present moment. And I think when we all do our best and, you know, as much as you can in the present moment, that's how you become a master of transformation.
We had professional development at work the other day, and one of the ladies that was presenting said the quote, practice does not make perfect, practice makes permanent. And I've heard quotes like that before. It wasn't something necessarily brand new, but it brought me back to this book. And then like I came home that night and was reading the chapter and I was like, oh my God, like this is so wild that I'm like hearing it again. And that, you know, like I appreciate that he acknowledged like it's not going to happen overnight. It's you are going to practice and you're going to do it really well, maybe for a week or a month or a year, and then something's going to happen and it's going to knock you, and that's okay, and that you just need to take a breath, try again the next day. And I really liked on page 87, kind of the middle of that first, like I guess the first real paragraph. It was talking about honoring your body and like things will change for you, and practicing giving love to your body and planting seeds of love in your mind and they'll grow. And he mentioned that earlier in the book too, and it was something that I really liked. And that, you know, like kind of what Tessa was saying, like I feel like I've been really bad about this, like doing my best was not necessarily for me, it was for people around me. And there were times where like I did it for myself, or I definitely got joy out of it, but that there are times looking back where I'm like, well, I said yes to that because I knew that that would help them, but not necessarily help me. And, you know, kind of acknowledging like it's okay to be selfish. You know, like there are times where like we do need to step back and be like, you know what? No, this is not going to serve me. This is not going to help put me in a better place today, tomorrow, next year. And so that's no, I'm going to say no. But, you know, it doesn't mean, and like making sure that I understand for myself that it doesn't mean that I don't appreciate them or that I don't want to help them, but that knowing like helping them in that way isn't going to serve me. And so I think kind of that being my best, and I talked a little about this before, like, but understanding like it's going to change from day to day, and that's okay, and being okay with that for myself. And then knowing like just doing my best is going to help me with every other agreement. It's going to help me to take a step back and look and see, like, am I being impeccable with my word? Am I, doing the things that I'm supposed to do to help make my life the best? And when my life is the best, in turn, the people around me, like, my relationships are going to be better because I am taking care of myself. And that's something I know we've talked a lot about as a group, throughout this pandemic, kind of like filling your cup, making sure your cup is full, and then let that overflow be what helps the people around you. It's exciting. It's all kind of like tying back together, and I get like little reminders as I'm reading from previous things. So this has been awesome.
I think one thing I want to say too, we use the word selfish, but I've started to use the word self-preservation. So and that was one thing I wrote down, is self-preservation, the instinct to act in your own best interest to protect yourself and ensure your survival. So it's not that you're really being selfish, but it is ensuring the fact of when you say no, you're saying no because you know it's not going to be good for you. You know that you're going to have to give that piece of you that maybe you don't have to give at that time. Maybe in 6 months, that would be different. Maybe 6 months previously, that would have been different. But at that point of time is where you have to ask yourself, like, is this going to ensure that I am going to come out still on the other side me? Are you going to grow from it, not, wither from it? And so that's why, I've really tried to start using the words like self-preservation, not like that I'm being selfish. I am preserving myself to ensure that when I am done with this situation, I'm better for it. I'm not worse off.
I love it.
I think
Tessa?
too. Oh,
No,
go
go
ahead.
ahead. I just love it.
No, I do too. And I was just thinking, like, sitting here listening to you girls talk, I'm like, how empowering is it that we can say no? Like, because not a lot of people can. Like, a lot of people get stuck in a corner and they just volunteer and drain themselves by doing all these things for all these people, and they forget about themselves and their body. This chapter talks about our body, and Bethany, what you said, when you practice giving love to every part of your body, you plant seeds of love in your mind. And when they grow, you will love, honor, and respect your body immensely. Like, I feel like saying no to others because it's not, it's not going to reward you. It's just going to drain you. Like, how empowering is that? Like, you're a pretty powerful woman. Like, that's crazy to me. Oh, that's cool. Love it.
I was thinking too, is like when you say no to somebody, also like when you were just saying that it's not selfish, Tessa, or like using the word selfish, like really you're doing them a favor though too, because like they're expecting, if you say yes, that you're going to do your best, and if you're not, then you're robbing them of having that full experience as well. So like it is really looking out for them too. It's like, man, I'm not going to give you my best, so I'd really rather you find somebody that is, and that's not going to be me. And I know if I commit to it, I'm robbing you of what your expectations are, or things like that too. It's like, I just really like that, is that preservation of like also them, because I want you to find a person that's going to give you the best too. Like I know it's not going to be me, so I'm going to be mindful enough to say no, and not necessarily just because I don't want to do it, but because I know I'm not going to give you what you need, and then this is just kind of like separate, but I love this quote in here. It's on the bottom of 89. It's actually in quotations, and it's, if I fall, I am strong enough, I am intelligent enough, I can do it. And I love that idea of like, we're gonna slip and fall, right? Like we're gonna say yes to things, then we're gonna go, damn it, why did I do that? Or we're gonna be not impeccable with our words, or we're going to take something personally, but we're also strong enough and intelligent enough to make adjustments and to move forward from it. And so like just reminding yourself, I'm going to mess up. I'm going to take things personally. Like I'm not always going to do my best. Sometimes I might mess up or whatever, but I'm strong enough and I'm intelligent enough to reassess and to get right back on track. And so it's like, don't beat yourself up when you notice you are slipping. Just recognize, own up to it, and then just like see how you can move forward from there too. I like that quote.
I want to come off of that for a second, Jenny, where you said about like, if you say no to the person, you're looking out for them also, because that is letting them make assumptions. And that is one of the agreements, is not making assumptions. So like on page 89, it says, that's why you need to be a great hunter, a great warrior. You defend these 4 agreements with your life, because you're not only doing it for yourself, but you are doing it for someone else also. You're not letting them make that assumption that because you said yes to them, that you're doing your best. Because when you don't, and when they don't get your best, then they're going to be like, well, I shouldn't have asked that person. Why did I do that? I was so dumb for asking them. They're not being impeccable with their word to themselves either. So you're not only looking out for yourself in making those agreements and keeping those agreements, you're doing it as that master, of transformation. You're looking out for everyone else also that is in your circle and that is around you. And being able to tell somebody no isn't a negative to me. It's a positive, because you know, and you can recognize for yourself that that is not going to be the best situation for everyone involved. So that's playing off of that. I think that is one thing, is that, if you say yes to somebody and you already know you're not going to do your best, they're already making that assumption though, that you're going to give them the best. And then when you don't, not only are you going to be down on yourself, they're going to be down on themselves of, why did I ask that person that? Because now maybe they were doing something for someone else also, and you failed, so now they failed, and it's that whole domino effect and now it's just all out the door.
Okay, philosopher Tessa, my goodness. Woo. That was good. It's like a never-ending chain, and like this is the dream of the planet, right? That was good, philosopher Tessa. You wear a lot of hats.
Sometimes it just comes to me. I don't know. It's like, oh, aha moment. Personal development. That's personal development.
Well, if no one else wants to share, we can go ahead and hop off. Does anybody else have something to share?
I really like what Brittany just said, like, but even just Tessa just said it again about like the fact that like we have really learned this, right? Like this is something that we really have been working on. Like even when it comes back all the way to Warrior Hour that we started almost a year ago, you guys, like think of the year of work we have done mentally and where we are at now. I don't think a year ago we would have been saying no to anybody. I wasn't. I know you guys weren't. And so to think back and be like, wow, look how much work and power and strength and intelligence that we've gained over the last year by just focusing on the thoughts in our heads. Literally, that's been pretty much it. Like, what are we thinking? How are we projecting it? How are we using it against ourselves? How are we using it for the world or against the world? And like, we have been working so hard. And I don't know about you guys, but I would love to go back and watch that very first Warrior Hour or something like that, or even those first couple videos, and just remind ourselves how far we have come in all of this. Because I know sometimes when you're in it, you guys don't realize it, but for me as like a facilitator for the last year of Warrior Hour, and then even just like watching Tennille do sit and sip, I'm like, holy crap, who would have thought? Like Tennille's sitting here hosting like a call and personal development and all that stuff. Like you just have to recognize that, like how far you have come in the last year or 6 months or however long you've been here. Like, man, I'm just like super proud. I'm just super proud. For real. So I appreciate you guys very much, very much.
We got a good leader.
Thank you. But
All right,
awesome.
ladies. Well, we only have 2 more Sundays left. And then we can chat about if you have any ideas. But I was thinking have a break in March and then come back in April. Okay, for another book. So just if you have any ideas, we can kind of chat in the chat, and then we'll order another book in March, and then in April we'll do another one. So, but thank you for showing up today on Valentine's Day. Give your loved ones an extra squeeze, extra kiss today. All right, love you, ladies. We'll see ya.
Bye. Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day.